Hi, my name is Ashton Williams, and I'll be refuting Cherokee Watkins' claim that society endorses alcohol consumption, which negatively affects the youth. Her two secondary claims were that music encourages a negative habit of drinking by endorsing alcohol, and then her second one was alcohol is the leading cause of death and injury in youth. So my response to her claim is that while the claim that alcohol can negatively affect youth is true, by stating endorsement of alcohol consumption by society, she's implying that society directly encourages the youth specifically. She gave an example of an incident with her uncle who's facing 22 years of prison time because of vehicular manslaughter of a 19-year-old who also was under the influence while driving. This gives an aspect of the negative effect of alcohol, but it doesn't support the claim that society is responsible. She claims that the use of media has a influence on society's perception of alcohol. However, in an article written for George Mason's University's Alcohol News, it stated, quote, "Advertising theory tells us that while advertising is useful in getting consumers to switch brands or to purchase a more expensive brand, it does a poor job of increasing total demand within an industry. In fact, the total advertising elasticity of demand for beer has been calculated at 0.0, meaning advertising has no impact on total demand. This means that most advertisement endorsements for alcohol reach the specific consumer of the brand rather than the product as a whole, so it's even less likely that the product influences youth specifically. In the main claim, there is precedence of fallacy of ambiguity when it's stated that society endorses alcohol consumption, which is like the actual drinking of alcohol. And advertisement and media, they do endorse the buying and selling of alcohol. However, they don't encourage young people to drink it in the advertisement. In fact, in 1930, the Code of Responsible Practice was enforced to all alcohol distillers, requiring that all advertisement and media for alcoholic beverages include a message or statement saying to drink responsibly. And by 1934, it was required that the message also include that drinkers must be 21 or over to purchase or consume the product. And this proves that there's more of a direct message to drink responsibly at the legal age than there is to the direct influence towards youth and underage drinking. My response to her secondary claim that music is one of the aspects that negatively affects youth and endorses alcohol is that the evidence given to support the secondary claim is not strong. The speaker presents a statistical data that says how much an adolescent is exposed to alcohol in daily music, but she fails to connect the fact to how it negatively affects the listener. In a study done by the 2009 Roper Youth Report, 1,000 face-to-face interviews were conducted with students where they were asked what influenced them to consume alcohol the most. And the result was that 68% responded that parents were an influence, while 11% responded that best friends were an influence. And only 2% that said that what they saw in the media, which is radio, TV, magazines, and music, influenced them only by 2%. So that makes music one of the lowest influences, having the lowest influence rate than most of the other outlets that in the study. On her other secondary claim, the secondary claim that alcohol is the leading cause of death and injury to youth, presents the idea that alcohol as an individual factor causes death. However, the data provided for the claim only states the percentage of how many adolescents consume alcohol beverages and at what rate they do so that causes them to be in harm's way. And the actual percentage of how many youths involved in accidents, whether it be automotive or homicidal, was indicated at 40 to 50%, with alcohol being the cause. However, it does not relate to the society's endorsement of alcohol that leads to these tragedies. So the endorsement of alcohol is in fact shown through media in today's society. However, the exposure of the media does not directly affect youth. because advertised endorsements are typically for a specific brand that is aimed towards a loyal consumer that already has experience in consumption of product, but also is more likely to be able to afford the product, the claim that endorsing of alcohol having a negative effect on youth cannot be strongly supported by the given evidence.
All right, before you get to the secondary issues that the advocate presented, you kind of have this background argument about endorsement and what it all happens to mean, and you're going to be challenging that relationship throughout the presentation. That makes a little bit of sense. I kind of paraphrased it as to the question: why is it that society is responsible for the mistakes that people make under the influence of alcohol, especially if society has made an effort to restrict people's consumption of alcohol or encourage them to drink it in a responsible way? I think you have a little bit of that in that information from the code that the distillers use to suggest that there are some limitations on the way that alcohol is endorsed or sold to people. I think there's probably a lot of other information that suggests that especially youth consumption of alcohol is frequently discouraged, and that there are education programs, that sort of thing. So I think you missed a trick there, giving a little bit of extra evidence on that. However, I thought you had very good information countering the argument that said that there's really not much impact on advertising, for instance, because it really affects brand identification rather than the total number of consumers. And I thought that was an excellent application of the evidence to the concept that the advocate's talking about. On the music issue, you diminished that also pretty effectively with a statistic on how much influence the various activities have on people's consumption of alcohol, and you suggest that media, which might include music, is relatively low. And we're back to the question of, is society endorsing this? If parents and friends are part of society, that might support their position, but because they were specific about making the music claim, I think your response here is a lot more applicable. I think the part where you're arguing about the statistics on death probably doesn't do much for you. I mean, I think you could acknowledge, look, alcohol is bad, lots of people die, that is definitely true. The question is, does society endorse the behavior in a way that would encourage people to drink irresponsibly? And that's where the argument is. And I thought you gave two really good arguments on that part. All right, thank you.